This video contains spoilers, please beware. Hello my fellow scuba divers and welcome to another Frosty video. Today we'll be, as the title suggests, exploring another hypothetical scenario from the world of Subnautica and Below Zero. What if the Aurora crashed in Sector Zero? That is a question I've seen pop up over and over in the comment section, and at first, I dismissed it as being a rather pointless scenario. I mean, no Emperors in Sector Zero. No Emperors means no cure means game over, especially with Kara being fatal in just 2 weeks, right? Well, when I finally decided to give it some thought, I realized that in reality, some really interesting scenarios would emerge from this situation, and so here I am, discussing it with you today. Just to set the groundwork for this video, we'll say the Aurora still gets shot by the QEP, but instead of aiming for the crater, the pilot manages to steer towards the icy area of Sector Zero where the ship eventually crashes. To keep it simple, we'll just assume the ship takes the same amount of damage as in the vanilla game and doesn't just immediately explode upon impact, and Ryley's life pod deploys as usual, landing him somewhere relatively safe in Sector Zero. We will also assume he lands on water since we don't really know how the life pod would face in an impact with a hard surface, and he could just be killed outright. Alright, let's see it.
I'm attempting a controlled descent.
So right upon landing, Ryley would probably emerge from his life pod and find himself quite cold. The original game didn't have the same cold mechanics that Below Zero does, but there is no reason to assume Ryley's equipment would work any worse than Robin's did. Right after getting into the water, Ryley would most likely get infected with Kara, and this is where the problem begins. How do you cure Kara without an Emperor? Well, to answer that question, let's first look around the sector for potential help. See, Ryley wouldn't be alone there. The Aurora crash happens around 10 years after the Degassi, which would mean Marguerite would most certainly already be there, probably quite well lived in at that. Even though she really doesn't like Altera, it's unlikely she wouldn't want to at least check out the giant ship that just crashed on her doorstep, so inevitably, sooner or later, she would cross paths with Ryley. It is important to remember that this would presumably be her first encounter with another human being in almost a decade, so she might come off kinda strongly, but given Ryley's handsome face and slick hair gel, I have no doubt they would at least make solid acquaintances. Let's however jump back to our Kara problem. Now yes, technically Marge did somehow survive the bacterium for over a decade despite having no access to the cure, but for the purposes of this argument, let's just say she's somehow miraculously immune and she can't pass that on to Ryley. What Ryley needs is the Emperor, which is half a planet away. Here we could also discuss whether the Emperor would be able to telepathically communicate with Ryley. The games never tell us what the extent of her abilities is, but given how she's still able to talk to him when he's launching away in the rocket, I would assume she would be able to reach Sector Zero as well. Now, of course, this wouldn't make reaching her any easier, but luckily, there is someone else in Sector Zero who might be able to help. At this point, Alan would of course be located in his Frosty Sanctuary hard drive, and since we know he tried to contact Marge previously, she would presumably still have the coordinates of his SOS call, which she might be able to relay to Ryley. Now, whether Alan would immediately acknowledge that Ryley is his best chance of curing Kara, or it would take some persuading, who knows, but I think that especially if Ryley was receiving the Emperor's messages, it would be about as good of a shot as Alan would ever get, and given that he was basically the head of the Kara research program there, and he might even feel guilty for the bacterium getting out, I can't imagine he wouldn't take the chance. With Alan's help, Ryley would be able to assemble his body. And then comes the big question: can they get to the crater in time? We don't have any direct proof that a teleporter exists between the two areas, but come on, this is precursor tech we're talking about. I find it highly unlikely that there wouldn't be a way to perhaps even reconfigure one of the teleporters to take the duo to the crater, especially given how well established the race was on 4546b. It is fair to point out that at this point we might be running short on time for Ryley to be alive, but as soon as they reach the crater, he should be able to chow down on some tasty peepers with the incomplete enzyme, delaying the bacterium's progress. From here on out, I believe they would actually progress quite fast, as with Alan's help, they could reach the primary containment facility, gather the enzymes, hatch the eggs, and get cured. Of course, Alan would have no issue disabling the quarantine, and there we go. Whatever happens from there on out is pure speculation. I mean, this could really go in many different ways. Perhaps Sam wouldn't even go missing, so maybe Robin wouldn't ever arrive to the planet. Maybe Marguerite would choose to leave with Ryley, and maybe Sunbeam wouldn't even get destroyed, but honestly, who knows? There are many different things this could impact, so if you have any other crazy theories of your own that you'd like to share, please leave them down in the comments below. And that brings us neatly to the end of the video. So it seems I was wrong to dismiss the theory at the start, because as it so happens, it is definitely a viable way the story could have played out in, and more so than that, it could definitely lead to some very interesting encounters. But anyways, that brings us to the end of this one, so I really hope you enjoyed, and if you did, maybe consider leaving a like, commenting, or subscribing. All of those would be very much appreciated. If there are any facts I missed, or maybe something I didn't think of while constructing this theory, please make sure to leave that down in the comments as well. I would very much like to read it, and with that, I'm gonna wish you all a beautiful rest of today, and I'll see you in whatever next video I make. Bye bye.